Hello, and welcome to this modular. In this module, I'm going to talk about the art of creating financial liberation. Instead of having a template or having a PowerPoint presentation or whatever, which in one hand I thought about doing for this presentation because I'm going to talk about a lot of financial stuff, I really want you to do it as do it with me. So it's an interactive training today. So the first thing is get out a piece of paper and a pencil. If you don't currently have one, stop the video and then go get one. And now come back with your piece of paper and your pen or pencil. I'm going to assume from this point forward that you have one and that you're working along with me. So, all right, now you have a piece of paper and you have your pencil. The very first thing I want you to do is I want you to draw a line down the middle of the page. And on one side, put a circle. And on the right side, left side, put a circle, right side, put a circle. Now, in the left side of the page, in that circle, write a P. Or the left side, write a P. On the right side, in that circle, write a B. So personal, business, right? Left side, personal, right side, business. Now, that circle represents your investment account, your savings account, your money, all the financial resources that come into your business or come into your life, for that matter. Now, one of the challenges I find that entrepreneurs, small businesses make, especially when they first start out, is everything is over on the left side, the personal side, right? And then they now have this business thing that is asking for money, but they haven't yet established the foundation on how to do that. So what they do is everything from the personal side gets pushed or pulled over to support the business. Money comes in from the business, and unfortunately, oftentimes it goes right back out, so they're continuing to feed the business from the personal side. Or money comes into the business and they need to pay rent, or they have expense on the personal side that they have to take care of, and they quickly move it to the personal side. And maybe they both, even though they have a personal and a business, all the money's come into the personal, and then they figure out what to do with it from there, right? Don't do that. Two reasons. Number one, the second you do is called commingling funds, which is when you take money from the person to the business or business to the personal. A, you muddy the water. And B, if you have an LLC or a corporation, any of the things I talked about as far as the legal benefits of having said venture, soon as you move money from your personal to the business or business to the personal without proper transferences, you've what they call pierced the corporate veil. So if something should happen, you lose that liability protection. It also creates a bookkeeping and paperwork nightmare too. So don't do that. The easiest way, starting out, and if you haven't done this yet, make today your starting out point. Personal, business. Your personal should have a personal savings account, a personal checking account. Your business should have a business savings account, a business checking account. Your personal should have a personal credit card to handle personal debt. Your business should have a business credit card to handle business debt. The goal, and when you first start out in business, you may have to get a personal credit card that's in your personal name because your business doesn't have any credit, right? So how do you do that? So that's okay, but make sure that whichever credit card, so you have two credit cards now. One credit card in your name is only for personal expenses. The other credit card, even if it's in your name, personal name, is only for business expenses. Try very hard not to put business expenses on the personal credit card because, again, it muddies the water. So ideally, if you have two personal credit cards, designate one for personal, one for business. If you just are starting this today, that's okay. Starting tomorrow, every business expense goes on one card, right? Even if you have personal stuff from the past, doesn't matter. Ideally, you want to start fresh with a new card, but if you already have two cards, don't go out and apply for a brand new card just for this yet. Just make sure that moving forward, all your personal expenses are on your personal card, all your business expenses are on your business card. Once you can, though, once your business is solid enough to apply for its own credit card, do so, because that makes it a whole lot easier, and it certainly keeps from muddying the water. So, business expense, personal expenses cover anything to deal with your lifestyle, your livelihood, food, rent, mortgage, anything in that realm, right? Your business, again, any expenses that's geared around the business. Income comes in on your personal, say a job, as an example, goes to the personal, and hopefully there it stays. Any money that comes on your business, which is geared towards the business, goes into the business, and hopefully there it stays. Now what you do is your business is making enough money that it is now able to cut a check in the form of salary and pay you, the personal side, X amount of money that you need to live off of. Let's go back to the beginning, though, because this is a common question that students ask me. What do you do when you start? Or what do you do if you haven't already started doing this, right? Your business isn't making enough money yet to pay for itself. Money in, money out. And there's always money or still bills left over on the business side. So you still have to feed it from the personal side. That's okay, but make sure you're doing it as a loan. You're loaning your business the money, and you're keeping a spreadsheet of that. So money coming over on the personal side is being loaned to the business so that the business can operate. And as soon as the businesses start to bring in enough extra money, now it's paid back to the personal side, right? And the loan goes away, or it becomes smaller and smaller. Again, that's where the credit card scenario can be a way of mitigating that. Now, I'm not saying put money on to use a credit card to get a cash advance or something, because there's a whole different conversation for that. I'm just saying expenses that can be put on the card. If you need money in the business, again, even if, let's say, the business isn't making enough money to pay for, you decide that you're going to give yourself a salary of $4,000 a month, and you have money in savings on your personal side. So you loan, let's say, the business $10,000. The business then each month pays you $4,000 back. 2.5 months, you burn through that. Hopefully you made enough money to cover that, or you have to do another loan. But you still want to have, ideally, the business, because the job of the business is to support your lifestyle, right? To support your livelihood. So ideally, the business is paying enough money over to the personal side to cover that. Or maybe you have a job and you have a part-time business and your expenses are $4,000. So $2,000, or let's say $3,000 comes in income from your job, and your business pays you an additional $1,000 to cover the $4,000 need, right? So make sure that you have a paper trail covering both sides. I know it's complicated, but once you start doing it, it becomes easier and easier. And I'll put different spreadsheets in the comments that you can use as well to help make it easier. But once you start to do this, both your personal and your business will start to take on a life of its own. The other common question is, okay, I have a fair amount of debt. So how do I pay down the debt? Or the business has debt. How does it pay down the debt? And then another person told me, another common question, I should give 10% of everything that I make off the top and invest it or save it. So basically the common phrase, save 10% of all you have. So let's use an example. And I'm just going to talk about the personal side now. The business is a mirror image of this, so I'm going to focus strictly on the personal. Your personal realm. You have $3,000 coming in, right? I'll say $4,000 because that's my earlier example. You have $4,000 a month coming in. You have $4,100 a month going out. So you have a deficit of $100, right? So now I tell you that you should save 10% of everything you make. Where's the 10% come from? 41 going out, 4 coming in. How am I going to do that? Yeah, right. Great thought. And I will when I have time. I will when I can. And what happens is 10 years go by and you're still trying to figure out how you can. So what I recommend, number one, get your spending plan or your budget dialed to where it's even. Worst case, 4,000 coming in, 4,000 going out. You're not saving money, but at least there's no deficit, right? Now, set a goal. And that can usually be done pretty quick just by moving your expenses or maybe eliminating an expense that you don't really need right now to get it to where it's balanced out. Now let's say you're at 4,000 in, 4,000 out. The next thing is, instead of trying to focus on 10% over here, yes, it's a great idea, yes, it's a great goal, but it's also very lofty for a lot of people to get to. Start with what I call percent bites. 1%. Can you do 1%? $40? Probably. 4,000? Probably not. 400? Probably not. $40? Probably. So now how do you get your expenses to where you have, or your cash flow, to where you have 3,960 going out and 4,000 coming in? Now you have an extra $40, right? Take that $40 and put it into your savings account. And then the next time, $40. So start with what I refer to as percent bites. Try to go from 1% to 2% to 3% to 4% to 5%, all the way to 10%, right? The other scenario, though, is I'm sure you probably heard people use the phrase, yeah, but you also have to have an emergency fund. What happens if something bad happens? If you don't have an emergency fund, your credit card becomes the emergency fund. Not a good habit to create. So how do you do that? Take that from the percent bites, right? So let's say, again, you're going to have 1%, $40 in this case, going into savings. Of that $40, split that in half. So $20 goes into your, I'm going to say opportunity fund. I don't like emergency fund because I'm a firm believer that what we think about, we bring about. What we say becomes reality in our own worlds, right? So if you say, I'm going to put together an emergency fund, that means you are expecting emergencies to happen. What if an emergency doesn't happen? What if you have an opportunity? Someone invites you to go out to a weekend vacation with them, and it's going to cost $100 that's not in your budget. But it's an incredible opportunity. And only if you had $100 extra, you could do that. You could seize the opportunity, right? Now you do. And I'm not saying that you blow your opportunity fund by having too many opportunities. Yeah, of course, balance, right? But look at it as an opportunity fund. An opportunity to cover an emergency, something bad that happens, an opportunity to cover something like great that happens. It's all in the wording that you use. Be very careful on the words you use because they will manifest. Not to get too woo here, but it's proven. Our words, our thoughts will manifest, will bring into our life what we put out. So be careful what you say with the title you put on things. Another scenario is people say you need to have a budget or a spending plan. Rather than budget or spending plan, because those tend to have negative connotations, what if it's a job description? Jobs. Money going out, the job of that money is to pay for things you need for your life or your business. Money coming in, the job of that is to cover your expenses, right? So same scenario. You hire an employee to serve a need that you have. Why can't your money be employees, right? So back to the example though. Start out with your $40, 1%, $40 into a savings, 20 into regular savings, 20 into your opportunity account. And on it goes until you can build that up. The other scenario that people look at is tithing. I'm a firm believer if you give it out in slices, it comes back in loaves. So it's important that we proportion a portion of what we have to give back to, whether it's through tithing, whether it's through sharing, give back to community. Currency means it's current, it's ever flowing. So money coming in, yes, you want it to go out to cover expenses that you have. But also a piece of that should be covering a way to support those around you that don't have necessarily the same benefits that you have, right? So we work together as a community to make the community grow, to become better as a whole, right? So again, percent bites. 1% for savings, 1% for sharing or tithing, 1% eventually for long-term savings. So now you're looking at 3% coming of what comes in goes out and continue to build that up. And it's funny how many times I'm working with clients, I watch them, they'll go from 0 or even a negative number to 1% to 2% to 3% to 4%, and they get to 10% pretty quickly. And again, that's divided up into the different areas. Then they get to 15%, they get to 20%. Now the ultimate goal, and this is hard to do, it takes time to do this. I'm not saying that this is going to happen overnight, but the ultimate goal is to have your job description for the money coming in, right, to take 70% of what comes in goes out to maintain your lifestyle, to maintain your life, to allow you to have food with your meals. 30% goes to 10% to short-term opportunity account, short-term account, right? 10% goes to long-term investments, and 10% goes to tithing. Now you can, depending on your beliefs, 10% or 1% to tithing, 1% to short-term, 1% to long-term, right? And the long-term is what starts to create your financial liberation, your financial picture. That allows you to purchase assets. That allows you to be able to do things that will eventually allow you to have enough passive income coming in to support your lifestyle. So remember, at the beginning, you might have 4,000 coming in, 41 going out. And you're going to say, wow, I'm underwater. Yes, you are. So get it to where it's 4,000, then it's 3,960, and then on it goes down until you get to 70%, right? That's the goal. As that continues to grow and you continue to have money going into different investments, different ways to now get the money to work for you, hence job description, right? Your money is now employees working for you. That's where you begin to build your financial legacy, your financial freedom, your financial liberation. Fun fact though, people look at creating financial liberation as I have to have $1 million or $2 or $3 million in the bank. No, you don't. You have to have enough money or enough investments put somewhere working for you so that you have enough money coming in to cover your desired lifestyle. If your desired lifestyle is $4,000 a month, let's say, because that's what it is right now, right? And you have $4,000 coming in a month from passive investments, from money coming in that you no longer have to recreate. It comes in because of the saving, the investments that you have, and you don't need $1 million to create that. If you have $4,000 coming in to cover that, you are now financially independent. You have now created financial liberation. Now, if you want to do more, yes, you have to make more. But as a starting point, as you break even, figure out how much money you need coming in to support your lifestyle. Once you're there, congratulations, you made it. Now everything from that point is icing on the cake. Now you start to build out your legacy. Now you start to do other things that you want to do, etc. Right? Now another real quick, as I wrap up here, another real quick thought though is what if you have debt? People often tell me, I have $10,000, $20,000, whatever in debt. How do I take care of the debt? If I have money coming in, again, let's say 10% is going towards short-term savings, or even 1%, right? 1% is going to short-term savings. What if I have debt? How do I handle that? Do I put all the money into buying down the debt first so I get rid of debt, becomes debt-free, and then start saving money? The problem with doing that is, once again, what are you focusing on? If I have $100 a month coming in, that's extra income after my money, right? I'm going to use 100 to get it simple. If I have $100 extra every month, disposable income to work with, and I take that full $100 and I apply it towards savings, my debt's going to continue to stay the same or go up. So that's not good, right? Even though savings will grow. If I take that $100 and I put it towards debt and pay down the debt, now the good news is my debt's increasing, but there's no savings. And where's my focus going? To the debt. So what am I going to feed? More debt, right? So what I always recommend that clients do is split it in half. So you have $100 coming in, take $50 and put that towards debt reduction. Take $50 and put that towards your opportunity account, your savings, your planning for the future. So they balance each other out, right? So yes, your debt goes down, your savings increase. And eventually, your savings is going to be higher than your debt until at some point your debt's gone. And that is the easiest way to do that. The other scenario, though, is let's say you have 3 credit cards that you owe money on, or you have a car loan and 2 credit cards. And some people will say that you should pay down the highest interest rate first, and then as that, what they call the snowball effect. As you pay down the highest interest rate first and you move that to the second, then you move that. And I have a whole training around this that I do, and if you want access to it, let me know and I'll send it to you. But the goal is, yes, financially wise, it makes sense to pay down the highest interest first. However, our brain operates on rewards and satisfaction through accomplishing something, right? So if you have a small, let's say credit card with $1,000 on it at 8% interest, and you have another credit card with, say, $3,000 on it at 12% interest, financial logic would say you pay down the $4,000 credit card first because it's a higher interest. But if you do that, you're not going to have a win for a long time. So in a situation like that, you might divide it up to where you have a portion of your money going towards the lower credit card, the $1,000 one, and a portion going towards the interest one. So yes, you're still buying down the high interest card, but you're going to buy down the $1,000 one much faster. Or if you are, like I'm the kind of person where I am motivated by getting rid of things, by making stuff happen. So I would rather pay down a $1,000 credit card and get it away, even though it's a lower interest rate, because now it's done. I've accomplished that card. No longer part of my life. Yeah, I can move on, right? So depending on how you're wired, either do a portion for both or pay it all towards the smaller one so that now you can get that satisfaction and then move it to the next one and on it goes. Again, though, make sure that every dollar that comes in is assigned a job. Every dollar that goes out is serving that job. One of the challenges people make when it comes to putting together their financial plan is because they're not watching all the dollars that come in, they might have a windfall. They get a bonus from work and they go buy a new truck. Or it's Christmas time, now they want to go buy lots of presents for everybody they know or whatever. Money comes in. If you're not watching the money, then it's easy to have slippage. Money goes out and you don't know where it went. On the other hand, if you watch it too closely, then you're going to have a bad month, and now you're going to blow your budget, and you're going to say, this stuff doesn't work, I give up. So allow grace. Again, currency is allowed to ebb and flow. A spending plan or a budget, if you're going to use those, make it a working budget. A living budget means that it's built around your life. Make sure, again, that everything has a job description. Where this came from years ago, I was on the financial board for the YMCA. And I was watching how this nonprofit, every dollar that came in, we had to assign and reallocate to something in the YMCA. And if there was an organization, let's say the after-school program, and they were actually ahead and they didn't utilize all the money that they had allocated, that portion, and let's say there was a surplus of $200 or $2,000, let's say, and they didn't find something for that $2,000 to go to, if they went into the next quarter, they had to basically then move the budget down to allow for that surplus to not be there, right? So it could actually hurt them in that situation. So I started thinking, how come in business we don't do that? If we have an extra $2,000 here, why do we just leave it in a savings account, which can disappear overnight, right? As in we spend it. Versus we say, okay, we have a surplus of $2,000. What do we need to apply this? What job does this $2,000, where should these employees, right, go to work at? The employees being the $2,000. Where do they go to work at? So every dollar that comes in is assigned a job, and the job can be pay down expenses, to create the operation expenses. It can be to pay down debt. It can be to create investments. It can be to buy a building, buy a car, buy whatever it is that the business needs to grow, to survive, to be a vibrant business. Part of the job should be to serve our community, to again pay back part of our windfall so that we can now open up the floodgates for more to come in, right? So make sure that you are intentional about how you handle your personal budget, your personal expenses, your personal money, and that you're continually driving for personal liberation. And if you do that, when you have a business, now you do the exact same thing, but you duplicate it over here. And now you have your personal world and your business world, and they're both now operating independent of each other, yet they're operating at the same time, following the same different processes. Each is going to have their own goals, right? You'll be amazed at how fast financial liberation comes into your life and how much fun it can be versus finances being stressful, your business keeping you up at night because you're not sure how you're going to do this. Assign a job to it. Let the employee, your money, figure out the job and go on to a good night's sleep. Don't stress out over things that you can't control. Rather, figure out who or what you can bring into your world to help take care of or help resolve, again, bringing solutions to challenges, resolve those challenges, and now you're able to wake up fresh and ready to go to work. Fun question as I end this modular. Do you look at Friday as, oh, finally, Friday is coming. Oh, I need a 2-day break. Or you look at Monday as, wow, I can't wait until Monday comes so I can get back at it and continue to serve my purpose and show up and help those I'm in business to help. I hope it's the latter. I hope you look forward to Monday as a new, fresh week to become bigger, better, and more awesome than you were the week before. At that, I'm going to bring this module to an end. Goodbye for now. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.